Hi, I'm Bob Batcher, Executive Director for Prime Plus Senior Centers, and this is Prime Time with Bob. A couple of weeks ago, I decided to tune into the streaming of the Norfolk City Council work session because they were going to be talking about the response to the vaccine, the COVID vaccine. And I kind of wanted to see what was going on and maybe was there a role that Prime Plus could play, and there was going to be a report on it. And then all of a sudden, it's one of those electronic meetings, so this box popped up, and a good friend of mine showed up in the middle of the box, Jim Redick. Now, I know Jim, and you may have seen him in a previous show. He is Mr. Hurricane Preparedness. So what the heck does a hurricane have to do with COVID vaccines? Jim Redick.
Sir, it's good to see you, Bob. Thanks for having me on.
So how did you show up in the little box?
Well, we are fortunate to play a role in partnering with public health to make sure that our community gets the vaccinations that they need.
Yeah, because it's complicated, isn't it?
It is, but I mean, that's kind of what we bring to the table. We do complicated, whether we're responding to any hazard, natural or man-made. And so this is one more emergency management type incident, if you will. And so we were able to bring that skill set to support our friends with at public health.
Okay, so let's talk.
Okay.
How many vaccines, I guess they're saying shots in arms, are we trying to get in the city of Norfolk?
As many as needed. But it's based on the latest criteria that Governor Northam and the state set. So there have been two lanes of vaccines. One has been focusing on essential workers for critical infrastructure, and then folks who meet the age requirement or have other conditions, underlying conditions.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of folks. That's at least half of Norfolk right there in that phase 1B. And so I think the limiting factor is the amount of vaccine that we're able to get, but then also the number of vaccinators that are available to get us to where we need to be.
So where we hear our president talking about there will be a vaccine for every adult by May, does that translate out to there will be a vaccine in every adult's arm by, I don't know, June 15th?
If we have anything to do with yes. I mean, well, so we want to make sure, and we have made sure now, that infrastructure shouldn't be a problem in terms of vaccination sites. So again, even if all that vaccine comes in is available, then that limiting factor is the vaccinators, because I mean, not just anybody can administer the vaccine, and certainly the health department alone doesn't have enough vaccinators. So we're trying to work with all of our community partners, with Centera, Bon Secours, the higher education institutions who have nursing students, really give folks, including our fire rescue folks. We have over 40 firefighter paramedics who are now qualified to give the vaccine, really trying to tap into that resource, and others throughout the community who would be available to partner and volunteer through the Medical Reserve Corps to, again, make sure that we have enough vaccinators as possible. Because when you think about the throughput, one vaccinator can do, 4, 5, 6, 7 people an hour. And so then you multiply that by how many vaccinators you have and over how many hours a day. And that kind of gives you the throughput expectation.
Okay, you have spent many a year running shelters, setting up shelters, doing the plan, having the tabletops and that. So, okay, we got a bunch of buildings in Norfolk that aren't scope, Macy's. We got a bunch of other big spaces that we could use. And so why don't you just kind of open up on Saturday and say, you all come?
Well, because the vaccine has to be tied to a particular name. And I could see that public health would not want to get in the business of having to turn people away, because I mean, obviously everybody wants the vaccine, and there's such a limited supply right now. But to your point, I did hear Dr. Fauci say that April should be, fair game, and we should be getting a surge, and that's the intel that we're getting from the state and federal level. And so again, we continue to ramp up and support public health in every way possible. And if we're able to continue to solicit interest from those who are qualified, even retired medical workers, to get them in the Medical Reserve Corps, again, we can have we can have a building in every corner, but if we don't have the vaccinators, then that's going to be the limiting factor.
I'm going to tell you that you're not the first question I get hanging with seniors. We're in tax season now. So the first question is, when can I get my taxes done?
Sure.
And then you got the vaccine, why can't I?
Right.
Okay. So
Okay.
answer that. I'm an essential employee when it comes to serving. So I'm ready for my second vaccine. I'm almost in fact, while this is airing, I will be getting my second vaccine.
Understood. Well, so it's all
safe in dealing with other seniors.
So there's multiple ways that folks can get the vaccine.
Okay.
So I mean, CVS and Walgreens are offering it, but I know that their stash, if you will, is, I don't want to say exhausted. I just want to, their appointments
it's limited.
have been booked with a quickness. Yeah. Absolutely. And so there's public health, and if public health is to get 2,775 vaccines a week, and there's over 50,000 folks who are eligible, then it's going to take several weeks to get to meet that need. So as long as folks pre-register, it'll take a little while, but we all, we will get there. Now, I'm happy to report that we continue to work with our state and federal partners and may get additional assistance. I think we've been able to effectively articulate the need here in Norfolk to where we could use more vaccine, more human resources, and more equipment, which we may actually get, which would augment what we already received. And so, that I think will assist us in getting more folks vaccinated quicker.
The second question we get, or I guess our third after taxes, is I've been pre-registered since, I don't know, the last 3 years. And I haven't gotten called yet, but he did. Should I check periodically to make sure I'm still on the list?
Well, I mean, you can always call 1-877-VAX-NVA, which is VAXINVA. But also that's something that we've seen as a barrier to actually making appointments, is the fact that if you have email, that email may have gone to your spam or junk folder. Or if you don't have email, you have maybe have received a call from the health department, but you don't know it's the health department. And if you're like me, you don't answer numbers that you don't recognize.
Right.
And so that's one of the ways that we're helping the health department, is using our Norfolk Alert to tell folks, hey, you should have, or you should look out for, this email or this phone number, and that way you will get notified to make your appointment. And then we're also trying to work with the health department to try to make sure folks can actually make their appointment and get over any barriers that would prevent them from doing that.
Gotcha. So yeah, because I'm part of a retiree group, and somebody mentioned in the text forum that they got their appointment at CVS, and oh my gosh, my phone blew up the rest of the morning because, well, how'd you do that? Who'd you know? Because it's almost like if you know somebody, you can get in.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you know me, you can get in.
Can I?
As long as you register through 1-877-VAX-NVA. I mean, so that's our process. We don't control the process with Walgreens or CVS or Walmart. So those partnerships are established at the federal level. So you may have heard of the federal pharmacy partnership. So that's where that is taking place. And so they have their own processes that we have no authority over. And we hope to collaborate, but it's a different process. And that's something that folks should be aware of. If you work through Walgreens or CVS or Walmart, they have their own registration system, which is separate from ours. If you're going through the health department, here's what you can expect. But if you work with them, understand that, it's just like making your own, healthcare appointment with your own physician. They have their own process that you would have to follow.
Okay. Well, I thought it was ironic when the president had his town hall meeting, and there was the gentleman whose son needed the vaccine. And in so many words, the president said he can't really help, but he'd be glad to talk about it.
Sure.
Because
well,
it is such a system.
Right. It is. It's a math formula, obviously, how long it's going to take this limited amount of vaccine and how many folks that are qualified for it. But then the processes, there's multiple processes. So again, our focus is making sure that the folks who are most impacted by the virus are getting the vaccines, and then also working with our partners. But at the end of the day, the health department is the one who requests the vaccine from the health department in Richmond. And then, they have to share among a bunch of different healthcare organizations, and then have some left over for, their distribution as well. But it should, in the health department's defense, they aren't necessarily the ones who are supposed to, they're not intended to vaccinate the entire community. I mean, for whether we're dealing with this or a biological attack, I mean, there are other partners, pharmacies, healthcare providers who are coming to the table as well. And so there should be multiple opportunities to get the vaccine. Public health should not be the only option, but they're there for the entire community nonetheless.
Now, Jim, I've learned how to do event planning and decision-making through the FEMA process and through you, that there are benchmarks you look for. So at what would you be looking for to say, we got it under control? It's no longer a community massive response, but it'll become part of our routine life.
Well, okay, so the health department plays a significant role in that. They're the subject matter experts. And so while they handle the vaccine need, again, we're trying to push it out as best we can to everybody possible. So it would really be them telling us that we've reached that herd immunity or however that it's under control. That's what's written in our plan. And in our unified command that we've established with them, again, they have that command level responsibility. We have the coordination responsibility. So we really would rely on them to tell us that.
So there's no way I'm going to say, and I never would have done this when I was the public communicator, just relax and we'll get to you. What do you want to say in the last minute to somebody who's watching this that knows more people than them that have gotten it and they want to get it?
That we're doing everything that we can to make sure the most efficient and effective use of the vaccine. So we want to make sure that we help support public health in every way possible. And I guess if I could just relay a quote that I saw, it's the fact that we're all in the same boat. And the quote that I saw is, we're not all in the same boat. We're all in the same storm. And some folks have yachts, some folks have canoes, and some folks are drowning. And so we're making sure that, everybody, through the most equitable process we can come up with is getting the vaccines so we can all get through this as a community. And
the day will come when it'll be just like the flu shot.
Right.
Because it will be part of our lives for as long as we can foresee.
Yep, seems so.
As Jim will be. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bob.
It is a whole lot different than sitting there waiting for the hurricane to show, because we're in the midst of it, but you're doing a great job of paddling out of it.
Thanks,
one last thing,
yes,
opportunity for the community to help you. What are some gaps that you might have where we could step in and help?
Well, I mean, we want to meet people where they are and partner with folks and organizations that have connections with those who are most vulnerable or eligible for getting the vaccine. And so I see some conversations with you, Bob, to discuss you and Prime Plus and how we can work together with some of our other partners to establish some vaccination clinics.
Okay, cool. And if you get the phone call, 877-VAXIN-VA, answer the phone.
Right. Well, and so that's the number that you call to pre-register. So that information is collected at the state and then sent to the respective health district. So it may be a Norfolk Health District number, and we would send that out to you via Norfolk Alert.
And if you're not on Norfolk Alert, go to the website and sign up. It's important.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. Absolutely.
Jim, thank you for everything. And pass my regards off to everybody who's out there serving the citizens of Norfolk.
Will do. You're missed, Bob, but we appreciate what you're doing.
Well, anything we can do to help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep in mind, even though the vaccine's here, be socially distanced, wear a mask, stay connected, and stay safe. Thanks a lot. See you next time.